I have been working as a private investigator for the past 3 or so years. I chose this profession because I found myself bored with life and I hoped that this career would give me a few thrills. It isn't exactly the Sherlock Holmes type of work I was hoping for, but it keeps me busy. Yesterday was the most thrilling day in my career, by far. It all started 2 days ago when a woman who looked to be in her late 30s walked into the office. For privacy's sake, I'll refer to her as Maria. I had a sit down with Maria and took notes on the case. My husband has been disappearing a lot. He leaves for work at 8 and doesn't come home until almost midnight. How long has this been going on? I asked her. About 3 months. He always told me that he had to work overtime because his company has been working on this huge project. Last week was our anniversary, so I got off of work early and set up a candlelit dinner. He wasn't home by 6, so I decided to call his boss. I asked him if he could send my husband home so that we could have dinner together, and his boss informed me that he had already left. I hung up the phone and eagerly waited for his arrival. I sat down and waited for hours and hours, staring at the clock. My husband got home at 11:47 p.m. I asked him what took him so long, and he told me. Had to save for overtime. I begged them to let me leave, but they wouldn't let me. I threw out the dinner and we went to sleep. I called his boss the next day to see if they made a mistake, but he assured me that my husband left work at 5 o'clock sharp. You don't think that he could be committing adultery, do you? I don't know, I replied, but he is definitely keeping secrets from you. Just say the word and I'll start tailing him tonight. That would be great, she told me. I promised her that I would email her if I discovered anything. She gave me his name and place of work. I will be referring to her husband as Michael. I got to his place of work at around 4 and parked in the driveway. I saw someone matching his picture leave the building at 5:07 and get into a car. I followed Michael and took several pictures. He went into a diner right after work and sat down. I walked in and sat down in the corner and ordered some food so that I wouldn't look too inconspicuous. I saw Michael speaking with a woman. I discreetly took pictures just in case, but that wasn't enough to prove adultery. He left the diner alone at around 7. I followed him until he turned into a small road that led into the woods. I knew that if I followed him in the car, he would notice me. So I parked the car at a nearby gas station and followed him on foot. It took a while to catch up because I was on foot, but at around 8:30 I saw his car parked outside of a remote house. I saw him step out of the house around 10:30 and get back into his car. I knew that I couldn't keep tailing him since it was a long walk back to my car, so I went to the cabin. I walked up to the door and peeked inside and saw nothing out of the ordinary. I picked the lock on the front door and opened it. I knew that there couldn't be any alarm system because that would increase the risk of his wife finding out of his little home away from home. I knew I was breaking the law at this point, but playing fair never gets anyone far in life. I held my flashlight and searched the house. There was no light switch and no ceiling fan. In fact, the house didn't have any wall outlets or electricity powered devices. There was no running water either. The only noteworthy things were an empty medicine cabinet, an empty wardrobe, 2 battery-powered fans, 2 battery-powered lamps, a sofa, 2 chairs and a table. I took a few pictures and went home. I didn't want to call his wife until I was certain that he was loyal or until I found some hard evidence. I decided that I would continue my investigation the following day. I followed him again and saw him sitting down with the same girl from the day before. I didn't take any pictures this time. I just watched him. When he left the bar and got into his car, the woman accompanied him. He was driving, and he followed the same road that he followed the night before. I parked in the same lot and followed after them on foot. When I saw Michael's car parked outside the house, I approached the house. I put my ear to the door. I heard loud moaning. I looked through the window and saw no one in sight. I did, however, notice that the wardrobe I saw the previous day had been opened, and there was a hidden door behind it. I picked the lock on the front door and quietly opened it. I looked inside the wardrobe and saw that there was a staircase leading down into a basement. I started recording and quietly crept over the top of the staircase. I saw the woman naked, bent over on a bed, and Michael, also naked, on his knees behind her. I pointed my camera at them and started to record them. I immediately noticed something peculiar, that the entire room, including the bed, was covered in plastic. I would have been more suspicious if I wasn't focused on getting a good video. After a few seconds passed, I was about to turn my camera off and head home with my evidence until I saw Michael pull out a carving knife from the pillow in front of her. When I saw the knife, I was about to call out and stop him, but in less than a moment, Michael rammed the knife into the woman's eye. Her screams were ear-shattering. It sounded something straight out of Psycho. I knew that I couldn't save the girl, so I kept recording. Michael held out his left hand over her mouth to quiet her screams. He then got the knife and stabbed it into her neck. She tried to put her hands over the puncture wound to stop the bleeding, but Michael dropped the knife and held her hands up. I noticed that she was trying to scream, but it was much more quiet and a gurgle than before. Blood shot out of her neck and painted the plastic crimson. At this point, I backed away and left the house, closing the door as quietly as possible. When I felt a safe distance from the house, I ran as fast as I could to my car. I got in and sped home. I arrived home at about 9:30 and kept replaying that video. I kept studying every detail, wondering what I could possibly tell his wife. The first thing I thought about doing was presenting my evidence to the police, but that seemed so boring. I spent the greater portion of my life seeking thrill, and I may have finally found my chance. Maybe that's just the sleep deprivation talking, but I don't know. I'm having trouble sleeping, but I'm going to keep trying. What's up guys, Psychotic Maniac here. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, slap a like on it and share it with your friends. So you don't miss out on any of my future content, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and remember, everyone is a tad bit insane.